So a couple of fun facts. So it is the Hispanic Heritage Month. So it is celebrated from September 15th to October 15th every year. And what exactly is Hispanic Heritage Month? So it's pretty much, it celebrates the histories, cultures, and contributions of American citizens whose ancestors came from Spain, Mexico, the Caribbean, and Central and South America. Believe it or not, it was, the observation started back in 1968. I did not know that until today, I'll be honest, under President LBJ, Lyndon B. Johnson. And it was enacted into law on August 17, 1988. So a little bit about us, who we are as SHIP Austin. So our mission is to, change lives by empowering the Hispanic community to realize its fullest potential and to impact the world through STEM awareness, access, support, and development. So we've been around since 1974 nationally. And as far as the SHIP Austin chapter, we were founded back in 1982. So we've been around for quite a while, 38 years to be exact. So a little bit more in depth about us. We're actually developed a proud history of excellence in community involvement, specifically in the K through 12 area. We strive to focus on STEM outreach initiatives and as well provide professional development events, seminars for our membership. We're constantly growing in the Austin area. Just because the name has engineers, you don't have to be an engineer to be a member. We have a bunch of teachers. We have people in business that are part of membership. So everyone's welcome. Come one, come all, right? Provide professional development initiative, like I mentioned earlier, STEM outreach events and networking opportunities for our members. Not only that, but we're very proud of this. We award 3 $1,000 scholarships every year since 1994. And not only that, but we added another one for $1,000 2 years ago, to be exact. So we actually give out 4 instead of 3 now, $1,000 scholarships. A little bit of kind of the events that we've had in the past 2 years, just to keep it recent. And as you can see, we're very tight-knit familia, family. And, this is the event down here was with the kiddos is at the offices at HomeAway, which is now Verbo. They were generous sponsors for one of our outreach events, Casino Night, Noche de Ciencias, Dia de Ciencias events, Oracle event right here in the middle. We were at their offices, so we had a professional meeting there. Happy hours as well. We have very diverse membership. Next, we will have Alejandra Luna to present the slides. She is with the Texas Folklorico Dance Company, and she is the president of the wonderful organization. Alejandra.
Hello, everyone. To start off, I just want to thank Omar and SHIP for giving us this opportunity. And if you can move on to the next slide, please. So who we are a student-funded organization here at the University of Texas at Austin. We're actually pretty new. We just got funded in the year 2019, since the last Folklorico got disbanded in about 2014. Yeah, so if we can go on to the next slide. So our mission here at the university is to educate, preserve, and promote Mexican traditions and culture through dance, as well as encourage the community to delve into new experiences. Over the past 2 years, we've been able to be more involved in the UT community, participate in competitions, along with winning 3 trophies, and just grow our membership. So I just want to do a quick introduction of our performance. Today, you guys are going to see Rachel Rivera dance. She is a 3rd-year international business major. She has a 17-year dance experience, and her position in our team is the artistic director. And then we also have Carla. She is a 3rd-year civil engineer major and also a government major. She has a 6-year dance experience, and her position here in the team is artistic director. And just a quick shout out to Carla. She is a member of the SHIP chapter at UT. And then sadly, these 2 performers couldn't make it today, so we can just skip that slide. And so here's just some pictures of the activities we do on campus. The 2 pictures with the girls dressed up in costumes, that was at competitions, and we took a solo, duet, and trio. We won 1st place among more than 700 entries. The other few events are just some events that have been hosted on campus. One of those being El Dia de los Muertos, So I think it's great to see the Hispanic heritage being more recognized and increasing on campus. And then finally, one of our get-togethers with the mariachi, just because community is always important. And yeah, if you guys are like our performances or are interested in keeping up with us, please follow us on our social media. We are very active on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and you can just look us up with @TexasFDC. And if anybody has any questions or anything like that, please feel free to reach out. And we're always happy to answer any questions. And now I'm gonna cue the girls who are gonna give you guys a nice performance. Thank you.
Hi everyone, we're gonna be dancing 2 songs from the state of Jalisco. And the name of the songs are El Son de la Negra and Las Alazanas.
Wow, ladies, very good job. Good job. Very well done. Very well done. Gracias.
Having us. Thank you so much.
Good luck in class. Stay safe. Thank you. Wow, ladies and gentlemen, that was incredible. I like who enjoyed that part. I did for sure. It brought back memories. Special shout out to Mr. John Cano. He's in the room. He used to be the UT Ballet Folklorico president when I was there. So thank you for coming out and supporting us, John. We do appreciate it. And thanks for letting everyone know I used to dance Ballet Folklorico. Thank you. That's usually my secret. But anyways, back to the presentation. And we will continue with none other than Mr. Dr. Zach Valdez. So he is actually part of the SHIP National organization. He is the manager, program and career services for the SHIP National program. So Dr. Zach Valdez has 10 years of innovative and interdisciplinary experience in the energy industry, from biofuel systems to ONG exploration. He received his BS in engineering and physics and a PhD at Baylor University. So he's a Baylor Bear, Bessie. And so I'm not gonna read the whole thing. This man needs no introduction, as you can tell. Without further ado, Mr. Zach Valdez.
Hi, Omar, thank you. And I appreciate you guys sitting in on this. I'm really excited to talk a little bit about why we need to promote more diversification in professionals for STEM career paths. So this is just a look at where, it's kind of title slide, no worries. Who our members are. This was 2 years ago. We try to keep it updated, but we're over 12,000 members at this point. Roughly, professionals roughly make up about 20%. Maybe a little bit less of our national membership. From a gender breakdown, I think this is something we're really trying to make it more equal, 50-50, but we are happy that, even 33 or 1/3 of our members are female, even a little bit more from a professional standpoint, because we find that that is an overrepresentation of females in STEM. So it's good that we're bringing them in, that they have somewhere, and then they can build an identity. And then at the bottom, you can see some of the top majors are mechanical engineering. Computer science and computer engineering is actually one of our largest growing, so it's getting up there. And then you have electrical, chemical, civil. One of the things that I would like to mention is, we really are trying to diversify what SHIP means. And so both from a diversity standpoint, but also, typically we've been engineering, but there are so many other STEM career pathways out there. And as we move forward as a society and as a STEM industry, we need to understand the importance of how we can get more interdisciplinary in our approach and our solutions. So my background as getting my engineering and physics degree and then moving to my PhD, I worked on biofuel sustainability. So that's just one of those things that, I think is going to be a great tool as you move down. Next slide, please. I'm just going to run through these really quickly, but the idea here is the chart on the left shows the rate of growth in STEM occupations is almost 3% larger over the next 10 years. And the chart on the right just shows you how much more on an annual basis you are likely to make in a STEM career. And so not only is there more growth, but you're likely to get a larger payout. Next slide, please. And so, we said more growth, larger payout, and then, the next reason for diversity in STEM is right here, you are seeing an increase in the amount of US population of Hispanics for the working class, and it's going from 16 to almost 30% in 2060, and that's just a rough estimate. So the population of Hispanics are growing, and therefore they're going into the workforce, and they should have a place at the table. Next slide. And so, one thing that I thought was really neat is the chart on the left shows you the high school completion rates for various ones. You can see overall was 83%. Hispanics were that light blue at 60% in 1976. But if we move to 40 years later in 2016, they're roughly equal, everybody right around 90%. And so what you can see is not only have we come up to the point where we're graduating more Hispanics, Blacks in high school, but we're growing that population as well. Next slide, please. And so this next one shows on the left, the colored slide shows sort of high school students who want to be engineers. And so, we're roughly right there with white and, quite below Asians, but 15% roughly of high school students want to be engineers. I didn't know that I wanted to be an engineer in high school. I just knew I was good at math and physics. And I found out later that was the career I was supposed to be in. But one of the parts that, I'm not, that I think we could all improve is on that right side, that Hispanics, only 5% of females in high school want to be engineers. And so we really need to work as professionals to increase that number and get it up. It should be right where it is with males. And that's, there's some gender issues there that we need to work through. But, for all the female professionals that are on this, you are the face of the future. And if you do the work and go into those high schools and show them like you can be an engineer, and it's going to grow this much, and this is how much your rate of pay is going to be, those are really going to push the needle. Next slide, please. This one just shows we are represented by 6% of the science and engineering labor force in 2015, but we make up, 16 to 17% of that, of the total workforce. So, with that, it is showing that, over the last 8 to 10 years, we've had an increase in Hispanics earning STEM degrees, but not necessarily going into the science and engineering labor workforce. So, we really have to focus on how do we find the pathways for those students to get into the jobs that they went into college for. Next slide, please. Hispanics and students in engineering. So the dark blue chart on the chart is how many enrolled and how many degrees were earned. And so that's over the time period from 2012 to 2017. And what we're seeing is overall, there's just been an increase in engineering school enrollment and degrees earned. But we can always do better in that. And so we're working through HSIs and various campuses to increase diversity to move them into that professional career path. Next slide, please. Obviously, we have a wealth of programs to sort of help with this. If you have any questions about those, please look them up or ask me. But more specifically, the next slide, I think, kind of encompasses what we're here to talk about today. That first one, diverse companies are 35% more likely to exceed industry earnings. So the more diverse they are, the more likely they're able to solve problems because they can look at it from different perspectives. There's also, and I didn't write the sources on here, but ethnically diverse executive teams outperform peers by 33% on profitability. So if they have a Black or a Hispanic or a woman or somebody of color, they're more likely to increase their profit margin simply because they are utilizing different perspectives to come at a solution. That 3%, that's the increase in revenue with a 1% increase in diversity across companies. And this was just recently out in a Fast Company article. But unfortunately, only 4.3 of the executive workforce is covered by Hispanics. And so if you remember, we make up anywhere from 16 to 18% of the US workforce. And so how do we get Hispanics moving into those executive positions? Because the statistics show that diverse companies exceed earnings and they increase profitability. So, when it comes to business, that's kind of the bottom line. And, SHIP here is here to help, whether it be through programs, networking, conventions, and we're just here to support. So I want to appreciate your time, and I'll hand it over. If you need me, there's an email address for you. Thank you.
Thank you, Zach. Thank you so much for being here and being a huge eye-opener for all of us here in this call to kind of see where we're at in the US as far as STEM field. Next, we have Ursula Wan, and she is a very good friend of mine. We actually met at UT, so I'm very proud of you, Ursula, first of all. It just keep motivating me to do better and bigger things. So thank you. So without further ado, Ursula Wen is a doctoral student in the STEM education at the University of Texas at Austin. She has a BS in biomedical engineering from UT Austin. Prior to returning to UT, she was a first grade bilingual math and science teacher in Houston, Texas. There, she was also first grade math lead at her school. Her research interests on issues of equity and STEM education at the intersection of race, ethnicity, and gender stems from her experiences as both as an educator of STEM subjects and as a past engineering student. Currently, she is a graduate research assistant for Dr. Regal Crum, hopefully I said that right, and a graduate research intern at SWE, which stands for the Society of Women Engineers. Ursula, thank you so much for being here once again, and it's all you.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me, Omar. So I guess I was asked to talk about the importance of minoritized folks in STEM. I use the term minoritized folks because minority implies that there is like a power dynamics and also like there is a norm of whiteness. But if you want more references, I do cite Dr. Tia Matkins. She has curated resources of Black Lives Matters, but also other things related to folks of color. So I kind of like go back and forth between the landscape in STEM education and broadly in education. So I'm gonna start with public schools and why it matters to about like caring about the importance of minoritized folks in STEM. So first off, like the student body in public schools is becoming more diverse. That means that there are more students of color that comprise the majority of the public school students. However, in contrast, most of the teachers are still white and female. So I think adopting a colorblind ideology in education is kind of like very ideal, but also it misses the point that race is very inherent in our educational system. But also like looking at STEM specifically, about 22% of the bachelor degrees in science and engineering were earned by minoritized folks. And this was in 2016. So that means about 78% were earned by white and Asian peers. But if you look at the census data in 2016, only 61% of the US population was actually non-Latinx white, and about 5% was Asian. So that means there is underrepresentation of minoritized folks earning STEM, science and engineering degrees. So you can go to the next slide. So why does it matter? And I think in education, which is what I focus on, STEM education, primarily in K-12, we had to look at the curriculum, like whose viewpoints are we evaluating, what's actually included and excluded as STEM, what actually counts as STEM education, particularly now that like movements such as makerspace, tinkering is becoming very popular. But like still, like there are certain ways of knowing, certain ways of doing STEM that are valued and privileged in higher education, but also in K-12 spaces. So I think we need to like bring awareness to that, and also why does that matter? Because I think it kind of trickles down into who gets to see themselves as scientists and engineers. And also the advanced STEM course taking, what schools actually offer STEM courses, AP STEM courses. How are the courses taught? So even though like schools may offer a AP computer science course, what is actually taught? Like who's teaching these courses? Like you can look at teacher qualifications. Do they have a degree in STEM? Are they certified to teach by the AP board? So there's a lot of issues of equity there, but also like think about tracking within and between schools. So that's like the STEM course offering between schools, that's the between school tracking. Like mostly there's research that looks at how schools are under-resourced, so they have a lot of high percentage of minoritized students, but also a high percentage of students that receive free or reduced lunch that don't have access to these courses. So that means that that course is not even offered in schools. So that's between school tracking. But even within these like more diverse schools where there's less percentage of minoritized folks and it's more diverse in terms of race and ethnicity, even then you'll see tracking where students actually take AP courses are mostly white or Asian, and students that are Black or Latinx tend to take the basic or the regular classes, the low track classes. That's what we call them in education. And also I think when it comes to STEM, there's an article that my advisor published not too long ago in 2019 that looks at how academic preparation, which it's something that's a lot of people refer to, like, oh, this is why we don't have minoritized folks in STEM, because they're not prepared. They don't take the required AP courses. They have low SAT scores. So I actually show that, which is the figure that I'm showing here. So these are the gaps. So that's the differences between white and Black and white and Latinx. So the differences in STEM course taking, but also SAT scores. So you see, like, across different fields. So not only in STEM, you see these gaps everywhere, basically. That's what they're saying. Like, it doesn't matter if they're going into STEM, if they're going into humanities, social sciences, etc. It's the same patterns of differences. But even then, like, that explains very little. Still, Black and Latinx students are more likely to leave college altogether when they intend to major in STEM. They actually leave college altogether rather than persisting in STEM compared to the white peers. So that's very telling. So what the research did is they control for several factors. So academic preparation, demographic variables, institutional characteristics such as like whether it's a research institution, a public institution that had very little effect on the outcomes. So basically the takeaway here is that this is only observed in STEM field. So it's not observed in humanities, not observed in social sciences. So even then, like, you see these gaps. It doesn't matter, like, it does very little to control. So I think the argument about academic preparation is valid in terms of, like, yeah, we need to look at what resources are available to our students, but also it does very little to explain away why we still see these gaps. And then finally, the last slide, if you can go to the last slide, Omar. I think in developing new technologies, time and time again, we hear that, you know, there's new technologies that are being developed, but they still reproduce bias, racial bias, implicit bias, whatever you want to call it. And it affects people. And I think when you have a diverse workforce, you're able to mitigate these effects. And also, I think just to point out an article that was written by Enrique Rodriguez, who was actually a UT SHIP member back in the day, I guess. He also wrote about how in our technologies, what we create and build affects communities of color and how we need to be cognizant of that. That's a brief overview. And if you have questions, please feel free to email me. I'll be happy to share.
Thank you so much, Ursula. Very eye-opening. I like the facts and how you brought in the actual, not just the male perspective, but actually the female perspective into all this. We do appreciate it. Next, last but not least, we have Bessie Sandoval. She is with Oracle, and Oracle has been a proud partner at the national level with SHIP. And now not only are they a partner at the national level, but also with SHIP Austin at the local level here in the city of Austin. So very, very proud of them for the continued support and collaboration. So Bessie Sandoval is a demo engineer at Oracle, primarily focusing on CX solutions. She has been in the technology industry for over 5 years, helping customers maximize the benefits of their SaaS applications and improve existing workflows. Bessie also serves as the lead for the Oracle Latino Alliance for the Austin chapter, where she is passionate about giving back to the community. So Bessie Sandoval, it's all yours.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Omar and SHIP, for having me. And great presentation, everyone else. Those are definitely some eye-opening numbers and stats. And it's really interesting to see all that. And, you know, as the previous speakers are speaking, I'm like, oh yeah, that definitely, like, I relate to that. Or yeah, I noticed that deficiency when I was in school, and so forth. And even today, you know, there is a lot of lack of not just Hispanics at Oracle, but also Latinx women. So it's definitely interesting to see how all these factors kind of play a role in honestly, on our day-to-day. But I kind of just want to touch on a couple of 3 points of, like, when I decided to go into a STEM field and just how eye-opening it was, of a little bit of the uphill battle it is. And I know a lot of you guys are currently in college, and about to start taking that next step. And not to deter anyone from that, but just to kind of acknowledge it is a little bit more difficult. There are some, uphill battles, but all in all, I definitely think it's worth it. So one of those is just me being a first generation college student. It was really difficult for me when I started school because I wasn't really aware of all the careers that I could have picked. Growing up, my family really emphasized being a doctor, being a lawyer, being a teacher, but there wasn't any other careers that they could really present me to. I come from a working class family and nobody in my family had ever been to college. So that perspective just wasn't there. So coming into Baylor, hey, Zach, also a Baylor alum here. Starting at Baylor, it was just eye-opening to see that there were so many other things that I could pick from to major in. But even then, kind of to Ursula's point, once I decided to major in information systems, which is kind of like computer science, a little bit more watered down, I realized that I was already behind the curve. A lot of my colleagues and fellow students had already taken coding classes in high school or had already done other STEM projects. And even though I had taken all the AP classes available at my high school, nothing was really targeted towards STEM. It was all, English or history AP classes. So I think definitely a lack there of just preparation. And I definitely experienced that. I'm not sure about you guys or if anybody else has had those experiences, and also feel free to chime in. And then, I progressed through STEM, of course, through my STEM degree, thankfully, and ended up graduating. And another big eye-opener was just at my first job. I was one of the only woman out of 8 people working on a project as a consultant for an energy company. And I was the youngest person by about 30 years. So that was definitely a big shift in dynamics. And it was just really interesting to see how my perspective was going to matter a little bit more, and how even though, companies preach diversity, and here I was, of course, a woman of color being offered a spot at the table, it was also important not just to have a spot at the table, but to be able to have a voice and be heard and be able to present ideas that were going to be acknowledged. So I think that's another big part of diversity and having more minorities in STEM. It's not just, hey, come join us for this meeting, but also what can you bring to the table? So I think all of those factors kind of are really important reasons as to why we should be doing or participating in STEM programs or taking up jobs in STEM fields. And even then, I feel like STEM is just such a broad umbrella. There's so many things within it that don't necessarily have to be, no offense, ship, but engineering per se. So just there's a lot of careers out there, I believe, even if you don't major in something with science or engineering or math, those possibilities are still out there. Yeah, I don't know. Do you guys or Omar, do y'all have any?
Appreciate the insight, Bessie, and the kind words. With the I got a question for you. So as far as being in Oracle, you've been there for 5 years. How have you seen the environment there, being a Latina STEM major working there? How does it feel? How does it look like? Is it progressing?
Right. Yeah. So sorry to correct you, but yeah, I've actually been at Oracle for 2.5 years. So I came from a different company,
Okay.
And honestly, the contrast between those companies is so different. But Oracle itself, I think I'm a little spoiled just because the Austin office is really diverse. We hire a lot of incoming college graduates, so that really expands the field. But even within that, in my own role, there's not a lot of diversity, especially amongst women. So within the 2.5 years, the company has definitely grown, and there has been more initiatives to hiring Black and Latinx students but I think more could be done, you know, even across the entire company. More can always be done.
Last minute upcoming events. For those of you that are joining us for the first time and learning about SHIP Austin, I really do appreciate y'all joining and getting to know us a little bit better. So kudos to y'all. And for those of you that are returning and are been barely involved with the chapter here in Austin, please continue to do so. I know these are challenging times for everyone, pretty interesting times, but you know, that only makes it just makes it even better for us because we got to be creative and think outside the box even more, right? So, but either way, we'll be here for y'all. So a couple upcoming events that we have for y'all is Become a Mentor, mentorship program that we're revamping, and we're working in collaboration with the UT Austin, UT chapter, sorry, UT SHIP chapter, and then obviously SHIP Austin professionals. We'll be pairing the SHIP Austin professionals with the students at UT. So if you're interested, and you don't have to be an engineer, we just welcome anyone that's a professional. So if you want to sign up, the links are provided in the chat by our wonderful tech support, Javier. Thank you so much for taking care of that today, for being our behind the scenes guy. And also another initiative that we're doing is a STEM virtual tutoring put on by Gabriela Gil and Dior Castañeda, our outreach STEM coordinators. And we have partnered up with 2 elementary schools on the east side of Austin, Allison Elementary and Linder Elementary. So if you want to sign up and be a tutor, and this will be all done virtually through Zoom, please sign up, and the link is provided in the chat. Last but not least, we also have the SHIPTINAS program, and I think Lisette Sines, she's our SHIPTINAS co-director. She is part of the SHIP Austin professional chapter, and her and along with Laura Hernandez, the other co-director for SHIPTINAS, are putting on wonderful events to increase the female participation and representation as well within the STEM field. So thank you all for attending, and keep an eye on the SHIPTINAS virtual happy hour, I believe, right, you said? That's coming up in a week and a half?
Yes, next Thursday. Or no, next Wednesday.
Perfect. So I can't wait. I'll be jumping in for a couple minutes just to kind of say hi and make sure no one's getting too much, no one's drinking too much wine. Just kidding. And then also, if you haven't been, sorry, I have the music in the background. If you haven't looked at our newsletter, I highly encourage you. Our secretary is doing a wonderful job, Maricela Castro, shout out to you. We titled it Talking SHIP. And as you can see, SHIP, we like to play with words, and a lot of our programs involve the SHPE acronym and our names, program names. So we titled ours Talking SHIP, our monthly newsletter, and there you can kind of catch up and see what kind of events we have coming up here in the city of Austin. So also check us out on social media. If you haven't followed us, I highly encourage you to follow us. Our social media, Maricela Castro is also our social media person. She's doing a wonderful job there, keeping everyone engaged and getting everyone, so that way everyone can know us and know about us. So there's our hashtag handles, SHIP Austin, pretty simple for all 3 major social media platforms. And then also check out our new and revamped website. I highly encourage you. It's pretty awesome, shipaustin.com. And it still has some tweaking to do, but for the most part, it's done. And then also, if you have any questions, any feedback regarding this webinar, please email us at ship.austin@gmail.com. And I hope you enjoyed the webinar and the topic. And I'm pretty sure it was an eye-opener for most of us. And it still is to me, believe it or not. But with that being said, thank you so much. Gracias. Hope you enjoyed the special performance by the Texas Folklorico Dance Company. And have a good rest of the week. Thank you. Gracias.